Captain Unipark stood at the observation window of the space station and looked at Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly in the darkness. It was beautiful. It was also a prison 300 years ago. The Galactic Council found humanity. They came with their massive ships and their ancient wisdom. They said they wanted to help. They said humans were young and needed guidance. They said the galaxy was dangerous and humans were not ready. At first, people celebrated. Humanity was not alone in the universe. There were 12 great species out there, species that had traveled the stars for millions of years. They had technology that seemed like magic. They had knowledge that could solve all of Earth's problems, but the celebration did not last long. The Council made rules. Humans could not leave their solar system. Humans could not build certain types of engines. Humans could not develop weapons above a certain level. The Council said these rules were for protection. They said humans were too aggressive. They said human emotions were too strong and unpredictable. Why? Yuna remembered the history lessons from her childhood. She remembered learning how her ancestors had accepted these rules at first. They had no choice. The Council's technology was too advanced. Fighting was impossible. So humanity smiled and nodded and said thank you for your protection. But humans never stopped dreaming of the stars. Yuna turned away from the window when she heard footsteps behind her. Admiral Taiho Shin walked toward her. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. But those eyes still held fire. It is time, Taiho said quietly. Dr. Beak has finished the final tests. Yuna felt her heart beat faster. She had waited her entire life for these words. Her mother had waited. Her grandmother had waited. 3 generations of her family had worked in secret for this moment. The Council's surveillance satellites, Yuna asked. Yes. They see nothing. They never learned to look beneath Europa's ice, Yuna nodded. Europa was one of Jupiter's moons. On the surface, it was just ice and research stations. But deep below that ice, in caverns that humans had carved in secret, something incredible had been built. She followed Taiho to a transport ship. They did not speak during the journey to Europa. There was nothing to say. They both knew what was coming. The transport landed on Europa's frozen surface. Yuna and Taiho walked to what looked like a small research building. Inside, they entered an elevator that took them down. Down through the ice, down into the hidden world that the Council had never found. The cavern was enormous. Yuna had been here many times, but the sight still amazed her. Thousands of workers moved between machines and equipment. Lights glowed everywhere. And in the center of it all stood Dr. Hoinbeek. Hoin was a small man with messy hair and thick glasses. He did not look like someone who had changed the future of humanity, but he had. Captain Park, Admiral Shin, smiled when he saw them. Come, let me show you. He led them to a massive screen that showed complex diagrams and numbers. Yuna did not understand most of it. She was a soldier, not a scientist. But she understood the important part. The Council uses fold space engines, Hyun explained. They bend space to travel between stars. It is fast. A journey of many light years takes only days or weeks. But it has limits. Going to another galaxy would take thousands of years, even with their technology. Hyun touched the screen, and the diagrams changed. We have built something different. We do not bend space. We step outside of it completely. We move through a place where distance has no meaning. Then we step back into normal space wherever we want. How far can we go? Yuna asked. Hyun's smile grew wider. Anywhere. We could go to the edge of the universe if we wanted. But I suggest Andromeda. It is close. Only 2.5 million light years. And our scouts have found good planets there. Taiho closed his eyes for a moment. Yuna knew what he was feeling. Hope. Real hope. For 300 years, humanity had lived under the Council's control. They had smiled and obeyed while secretly building this technology. They had passed the work from parents to children, keeping the secret through generations. And now it was ready. The Ark ships, Taiho asked. 2,000 ships, Hyun replied. Hidden on Mars, Titan, and the asteroid belt. Each can carry 6 million people in stasis sleep. We can move everyone. All 12 billion humans. Every single one. Una thought about that number. 12 billion people. Every man, woman, and child. Every family, every community, every nation. All of them leaving together. The council will notice if we start moving people to the ships, she said. That is why we must do it quickly, Taiho said. One night. We have planned every detail for decades. When the time comes, everyone will know what to do. They will go to the collection points. They will board the transports. By the time the council realizes something is wrong, we will be gone. And Earth. Una looked at the old admiral. We just leave it. Taiho's face became sad. Earth is our mother. We love her. But she is not our cage. The council has made this place a prison. We cannot fight them. Their weapons are too strong. Their ships are too many. But we can leave. We can go somewhere they cannot follow. We can finally be free. Una looked around the cavern at all the people working. She thought about all the people above, on Earth, on Mars, on the stations and colonies. They were all waiting. They had all kept the secret. Parents had not told children until they were old enough. Workers had built ships while pretending to mine asteroids. Scientists had developed technology while pretending to do simple research. The council thought they knew humans. They thought they had studied humanity completely. They thought humans were predictable, emotional, easy to control. They were wrong. When do we begin? Una asked. 6 months, Taiho said. We launch Project Exodus in 6 months. Use this time to prepare your crews. Check every ship. Test every system. When the night comes, there can be no mistakes. Una stood straight and saluted. Yes, Admiral. She walked back toward the elevator, but stopped at the edge of the cavern. She looked back at the massive facility, at the thousands of people working silently on humanity's greatest secret. The council wanted to keep humans in a cage. They thought walls and rules could hold back a species that had crawled out of caves and learned to touch the stars. They had forgotten something important about humans. Humans always found a way out. Una smiled as she stepped into the elevator. They built the cage, she whispered to herself. But they forgot that we built the door. Nari Chen wiped the sweat from her forehead and looked at the ship in front of her. It was beautiful. Massive and silver, it hung in the underground dock like a sleeping giant. This was Arc 7, and it was finally complete. She had spent 15 years building these ships. Her mother had spent 30 years before her, and her grandmother had drawn the first designs. 3 generations of the Chen family had given their lives to this project. How does it look? Nari turned to see Lieutenant Junho walking toward her. He was young and tall, with a friendly smile that made people trust him instantly. He was also one of the best pilots humanity had ever produced. Perfect, Nari said. Every system is working. Every stasis pod is ready. This ship can carry 6 million people across the universe. Junho whistled softly. 6 million. I still cannot believe we built 2,000 of these. And the council never saw a thing. That was the miracle of it all. For over 100 years, humanity had built a secret fleet right under the council's nose. They had disguised the construction as mining operations. They had hidden the ships and asteroids under the ice of moons. In the deep canyons of Mars, the council's surveillance systems watched Earth constantly. But they never thought to look closely at the boring mining facilities scattered across the solar system. Joe leaned against a railing and looked at the massive ship. I grew up in an orphanage in Seoul, you know. There were 40 kids there. I used to look at the stars at night and wonder what was out there. The older kids would tell me that we could never know. The council would never let us leave. He smiled. Now I am going to fly one of these ships to another galaxy. I am going to take those kids from the orphanage with me. We are all going to see what is out there. Nari felt tears forming in her eyes, but she blinked them away. There was still work to do, far away on the council's space station. Hannah Kwan sat in a meeting room and kept her face perfectly calm. She was Earth's official representative to the Galactic Council. She wore expensive clothes and spoke with a soft voice. The alien species thought she was weak and harmless. They had no idea. "The energy readings from your solar system have been unusual lately," said the Velith ambassador. He was a tall amphibian creature with pale blue skin and large eyes. His voice was cold. "Our sensors have detected strange patterns." Hannah tilted her head slightly. "Strange patterns? I am sorry, Ambassador. I do not understand these technical matters. Could you explain?" The Velith made a sound of annoyance. "There have been energy spikes. Unusual activity. We want to know what your people are doing." Hannah smiled her most innocent smile. "We are mining asteroids, Ambassador. The same thing we have done for 200 years. Perhaps your sensors need maintenance?" The Velith's eyes narrowed. He did not trust her. But he also did not have any proof of wrongdoing. The Council had watched humanity for 300 years and never found anything suspicious. Humans were obedient. Humans followed the rules. Humans were boring. That was exactly what Hannah wanted them to think. "We will send an investigation fleet," the Velith said. "They will examine your operations." Hannah kept her smile in place, but her heart was racing. "Of course, Ambassador. We have nothing to hide." "When will they arrive?" "In 8 months." 8 months. The evacuation was planned for 6 months from now. They would be gone before the investigators arrived. "We will prepare for their visit," Hannah said calmly. "Humanity always welcomes our friends from the Council." She walked out of the meeting room and went to her private quarters. Once the door was closed, she activated a secure communication channel. "Admiral Sheen," she said quietly. "The Council is sending investigators. 8 months. Taiho's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired, but not worried. "We expected this. The timeline does not change." "Is there anything else?" "They suspect something, but they do not know what. They still think we are obedient pets." Taiho smiled grimly. "Good. Let them think that until the very end." The next months passed quickly. Across the solar system, humanity prepared in silence. On Earth, people went about their normal lives. They went to work. They sent their children to school. They watched entertainment and ate dinner with their families. And at night in secret, they received their instructions. Every person on Earth knew the plan. They had known for years. Parents had told children when they turned 16. Friends had whispered to friends. The secret had passed through billions of people. Not one person had told the Council. This was humanity's greatest achievement. Not the technology. Not the ships. But the fact that 12 billion people had kept the same secret for generations. Dr. Hayon. Beak worked day and night in his laboratory beneath Europa. He checked every calculation 1,000 times. He tested every system until he was sure it was perfect. One mistake could scatter the fleet across the universe. One error could kill billions. He would not let that happen. "The coordinates are set," he told Yuna during one of her visits. "A young star in Andromeda. 7 planets. 3 of them are perfect for human life. Our scouts sent probes there decades ago. The air is clean. The water is pure. It is waiting for us." Yuna studied the images of the distant planets. Green continents. Blue oceans. White clouds. It looked like Earth. It looked like home. "How long will the journey take?" she asked. "For us? 1 second. Maybe less. We will step outside of normal space and step back in on the other side. 2,500,000 light years in the blink of an eye." Yuna shook her head in amazement. "The Council has traveled the stars for millions of years. They never discovered this technology. They stopped looking," Heon said. "That is the problem with ancient species. They think they know everything. They stop asking questions. They stop dreaming. But humans never stop dreaming. That is our greatest strength." 2 weeks before the Exodus, Admiral Taiho called a final meeting. Every key leader attended through secure channels. Yuna was there. Hyun was there. Nari and Junho were there. Hannah watched from the Council station, her face hidden behind encryption. "This is it," Taiho said. "In 14 days, humanity leaves this galaxy. Every person has received their instructions. Every ship is ready. Every system is tested. He paused and looked at each face on the screen. Some of you are afraid. That is normal. We are doing something that has never been done before. We are leaving behind the only home our species has ever known. We are jumping into the unknown. His voice grew stronger. But we are also doing something wonderful. We are taking our freedom, not asking for it, not begging for it, taking it. The council wanted to decide our future. They wanted to keep us small and weak and controlled. But we refused. We built our own door, and now we are walking through it. Junho spoke up. What about the people who cannot travel? The sick? The very old? Everyone goes, Taiho said firmly. We have medical pods for the sick. We have gentle stasis for the elderly. No one is left behind. Humanity leaves together, or not at all. Yuna felt pride swelling in her chest. This was what made humans special. They did not abandon their own. They carried each other when they needed to. One last thing, Taiho said. After we leave, the council will find a message beacon. I have recorded something for them. A goodbye, you might say. I want them to know why we left. I want them to understand what they did wrong. They will try to follow us, Hannah warned. Let them try. By the time they reach Andromeda with their slow engines, we will have built cities and raised children and spread across 100 worlds. They will arrive as visitors to our civilization, not as our masters. The meeting ended. The preparations continued, and somewhere in the cold silence of space, the Ark ships waited in their hiding places, ready to carry humanity to freedom. The sun set over Seoul for the last time in human history. The city's lights flickered on as darkness spread across the sky. People walked through the streets, went to restaurants, sat in parks. Everything looked normal, but nothing was normal. In every home, in every building, people were saying goodbye. They touched the walls of their houses. They looked at the trees in their gardens. They watched the stars appear above the city. They knew they would never see any of this again. At exactly 8 p.m. local time, a message appeared on every screen in the city. It was simple. Just 3 words. It is time. And the great exodus began. Jono stood at the controls of his transport ship, watching the city below. Thousands of smaller transports rose into the air, each carrying hundreds of people. They moved in perfect coordination, like a dance that had been practiced for decades. Transport 7, this is command, a voice said in his ear. Proceed to collection point 12. You have the last group. Understood. Command. Gunho guided his ship down to a large plaza in the center of the city. Below him, he could see a crowd of people waiting. They were calm and organized. Families held hands. Parents carried sleeping children. Old people sat in wheelchairs, attended by medical staff. Among them were the children from his old orphanage. Junho felt his throat tighten as he landed the ship and opened the doors. The children looked up at him with wide eyes. Some of them recognized him. He had visited them whenever he could, bringing gifts and stories about space. Is it true? A young girl asked him. Are we really going to another galaxy? Junho knelt down to look at her. Yes, we are going somewhere new, somewhere beautiful, somewhere the council cannot follow. The girl smiled. I always knew we would fly someday. The loading went smoothly. 50,000 people boarded the transport in less than 2 hours. They filed into the ship quietly, finding their assigned seats, helping each other with luggage and children and elderly relatives. When the last person was aboard, Junho sealed the doors and lifted off. Below him, Seoul was dark. The lights were going out one by one as power systems were shut down. Soon the whole city would be empty. He thought about all the history down there. Thousands of years of human civilization. The wars, the peace, the art, the music, the love and loss and hope. They were leaving it all behind, but they were taking the most important thing with them. They were taking each other. Across the planet, the same scene was happening everywhere. In Tokyo, in New York, in Cairo, in London, in Mumbai, in Sydney, Cities emptied as transports rose into the sky. The Great Migration moved like clockwork. Each step planned years in advance. Captain Unipark watched from the bridge of the flagship. New dawn. Hundreds of screens surrounded her, showing feeds from every corner of Earth. She saw the transports rising. She saw the ARC ships opening their doors to receive millions of people. She saw humanity flowing into the stars like a river.
Ass.
Status report, she said calmly. Mars colonies are fully evacuated, an officer reported. All personnel are aboard ARCs 1500 through 1700. Moon bases are clear. Everyone is on transport to the Titan staging area. Earth's evacuation at 60%. Estimated completion in 4 hours. Una nodded. Everything was going according to plan. 300 years of preparation had led to this night far away. On the council station, Hannah Kwan sat alone in her quarters. She had packed nothing. She would leave nothing behind. Everything that mattered to her was already on the ships. Her communication device buzzed. It was time for her last act. She walked to the council chamber, where the ambassadors of the 12 species were gathered for a routine meeting. They looked at her with the same dismissive expressions they always wore. Humans were not important. Humans were pets. Humans were controlled. Ambassador Kwan the Velith said impatiently. You requested to speak? Make it quick. Hannah bowed respectfully. I bring a message from Earth. Humanity wishes to thank the Council for 300 years of guidance and protection. We have learned much from you. The Velith waved his hand dismissively. Yes, yes. Is that all? There's one more thing. Anna smiled. It was not her usual polite smile. It was the smile of someone who had won a game that no one knew she was playing. We wish you well. She turned and walked out of the chamber. The council members looked at each other in confusion. What did that mean? But they were busy with important matters. They had treaties to discuss. They had trade routes to manage. They did not have time to worry about the strange behavior of a human ambassador. They would understand soon. Now 4 hours later, the last transport lifted off from Earth. The ship rose over what had once been Beijing, now dark and silent. Empty streets stretched between empty buildings. No lights burned in any window. No cars moved on any road. Billions of people had vanished in a single night. The council had not noticed. In the staging area near Titan, the ARC fleet waited. 2,000 massive ships floated in perfect formation. Inside them, 12 billion people lay in stasis pods, dreaming of the new world that awaited them. Dr. Handbeak stood at the central control station, his hands moving over the panels. Around him, a team of engineers watched their screens with tense faces. This was the moment of truth. The jump system had been tested, but never with so many ships. Never across such a distance. All ships report ready, an engineer said. Stasis systems stable across the fleet. Jump drives powered and synchronized. Heen took a deep breath. Captain Park. Yuna's voice came through the communication system. We are ready, Doctor. Everyone is aboard. Everyone is safe. Take us home. Home. Not Earth. Not the solar system. Home was ahead of them now, not behind. Initiating jump sequence, Ewan said. All ships prepare for dimensional fold in 10 seconds. Across the fleet, people held their breath. Those who were awake to operate the ships gripped their controls. Those in stasis dreamed on, unaware of the miracle about to happen. 5 seconds. Narration stood at the window of her engineering vessel, looking at the stars. These were the stars she had known all her life. The stars of the Milky Way. She would never see them again. 3 seconds. Junhoyo sat in his pilot's chair, thinking about the orphanage in Seoul, thinking about the children now sleeping peacefully in the cargo hold. They would wake up in a new galaxy. They would grow up free. 1 second. Admiral Taiho Shin closed his eyes and thought about his father, his grandfather, all the people who had worked their whole lives for this moment and died before seeing it happen. This is for you, he thought. All of you. Jump. The universe rippled. It was not a sound or a sight. It was something deeper, something that touched every atom of every ship. For one impossible instant, The fleet existed outside of space and time. They were everywhere and nowhere. They were nothing and everything. Then they were somewhere else. The stars were different. The shapes of the galaxies in the distance were different. Everything was different. Nari looked out her window and saw a yellow sun rising over an unknown world. Blue oceans sparkled below white clouds. Green continents spread across the surface. It was beautiful beyond words. Jump complete, Heon's voice said over the communication system. All ships accounted for. All systems stable. We are in the Andromeda Galaxy. In the distance, the Milky Way was just a smudge of light among millions of other galaxies. Earth was there, somewhere, 2.5 million light-years away. Empty and silent, waiting for the Council to discover what had happened. Yuna stood on the bridge of the new dawn and looked at the new sun rising. "Send a message to all ships," she said quietly. Tell them we are home," and across the fleet, 12 billion humans began to wake up to their first day of freedom. The Velith ambassador woke to an alarm he had never heard before. It was the emergency signal, reserved only for the most serious threats to the Galactic Council. He rushed to the main chamber, his heart pounding. The other ambassadors were already there. 12 species, the oldest and most powerful in the galaxy, all gathered around a holographic display. Their faces showed confusion, shock, and fear. "What is happening?" the Velith demanded. A Morith drone floated forward. The Morith were a hive mind species, millions of insects sharing one consciousness. When they spoke, their voice was cold and mechanical. "We detected an anomaly in the Sol system 6 hours ago. All electromagnetic signals from the human territories went silent. We sent a scout ship to investigate." The holographic display flickered, showing images transmitted by the scout. The Velith felt his blood turn cold. Earth was dark, not sleeping, not in emergency mode. Dark, no lights in the cities, no ships in orbit, no satellites transmitting. The planet that had held 12 billion noisy, emotional, troublesome humans was completely empty. "That is impossible," whispered the ambassador from the Ironbound. His species was made of living silicon, cold and logical. But even his voice trembled. Where did they go? The Morith continued their report. "We found similar conditions on Mars, on the Moon, on all human stations and colonies. Every human settlement in the Sol system is empty. There is no sign of conflict. No bodies, no damage. They simply ... left." The Velith slammed his hand on the table. 12 billion organisms do not simply leave. They cannot travel faster than light. We made sure of that. We controlled their technology. We watched them constantly. "Perhaps we did not watch closely enough," said a quiet voice. Everyone turned to look at the ironbound ambassador. His crystalline face was unreadable, but his words cut through the chaos. "Humans are clever. We always knew this. We saw how quickly they developed technology before we found them. We were afraid of what they might become. That is why we caged them. But cages do not work forever, especially not for a species that refuses to accept limits. Search the system," the Velith ordered. "They must be hiding somewhere. In the asteroid belt, in the outer planets, they cannot have gone far." But the search found nothing. The Sol system was empty. Every asteroid had been checked. Every moon had been scanned. Every ship had been traced. Humanity had vanished completely. Then the scout ship found the beacon. It was floating in orbit around Earth, small device that activated when the ship approached. A hologram appeared, showing the face of an old human man with gray hair and tired eyes that burned with quiet fire. "I am Admiral Taihoshin," the hologram said. "If you are seeing this message, then you have discovered that humanity is gone. We did not run because we were afraid of you. We left because we were tired of living in your cage." The council chamber was silent. Every ambassador stared at the hologram with growing horror. "For 300 years you called us dangerous. You said our emotions made us unstable. You said we needed to be controlled for our own good. You built walls around our solar system and told us it was for our protection." Taiho's hologram smiled coldly. "You were right about one thing. We are dangerous. But not in the way you feared. We are dangerous because we never stop dreaming. We are dangerous because we never accept that something is impossible. You gave us rules, and we found ways around them. You built walls, and we built doors. The Veleth's face twisted with rage. Where did they go? Tell us. But the hologram could not hear him. It was just a recording, playing its message to an empty room. We have left this galaxy. We have gone somewhere you cannot follow. Your fastest ships would take 4,000 years to reach us. By the time you arrive, we will have spread across 1,000 worlds. We will have built civilizations you cannot imagine. We will have become something you never allowed us to be. Taiho's expression softened slightly. We do not hate you. We understand that you were afraid. Ancient species often fear young ones. You have seen civilizations rise and fall. You have seen the damage that uncontrolled growth can cause. Your caution comes from experience, Ahmed. But you made a mistake. You thought you could stop us from growing? You thought you could keep us small and controlled forever? You forgot that humans are not like other species. We do not accept limits. We do not stop reaching for the stars. You can slow us down, but you cannot stop us. The hologram paused as if Taiho was thinking about his next words carefully. Do not try to follow us. Do not try to find us. We are no longer your responsibility. We are no longer your problem. We are free. Farewell. The hologram disappeared. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Ambassadors shouted at each other. The Veleth demanded immediate pursuit. The Morith calculated the impossibility of the journey. The Ironbound sat in silence, processing the information with their cold silicon minds. This is a trick, the Veleth shouted. They are hiding somewhere in this galaxy. We will find them. The energy signature we detected, the Morith said slowly, was unlike anything in our records. It was not a fold space jump. It was something else, something we have never seen before. The Ironbound finally spoke again. They developed new physics. While we watched their factories and controlled their research, they created technology that we did not know was possible. How? The Veleth demanded. We watched them for 300 years. Did we? The Ironbound's voice was heavy with something that might have been shame. Or did we only watch what they wanted us to see? Humans are social creatures. They keep secrets together. 12 billion of them kept this secret for generations. Not one of them told us. Not one. That was the part that shocked the council the most. Not the technology. Not the escape. But the fact that an entire species had worked together in silence for over 100 years, and not a single individual had betrayed the plan. The council could not understand it. Their species were old. They had seen empires rise and fall because of traitors and leaks and internal conflicts. The idea that billions of beings could share a secret across generations seemed impossible, but humans had done it. What do we do now? Asked a smaller ambassador from a species that rarely spoke. Do we chase them? The Morith answered. The journey to Andromeda would take 4,000 of their years with our technology. By the time we arrive, many of us would be dead. The humans would have had 4,000 years to prepare for our arrival. Then we build better ships, the Veleth said stubbornly. We develop new technology. We do what they did, the Ironbound interrupted. That is what you are suggesting. We innovate. We push our limits. We become more like the species we tried to control. Silence fell over the chamber. The Veleth sat down slowly, the fight draining out of him. He looked at the holographic map of the galaxy. The dot that represented Earth was dark now, empty. Humanity's spot in the Milky Way had been erased overnight. We made a mistake, he said quietly. We tried to cage them because we were afraid of what they might become. But the cage did not stop them. It only gave them a reason to leave. What do we tell our people? Asked another ambassador. Billions of beings across the galaxy will want to know what happened. The Ironbound answered. We tell them the truth. We tell them that humanity escaped. We tell them that we failed, and then we think about what we learned. For millions of years, we have believed that control is the answer to danger. That limits bring safety. that keeping young species small protects everyone. The Ironbound's crystal face turned toward the empty space where Taiho's hologram had been. But perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps freedom is not the danger we thought it was. Perhaps the greatest danger was trying to take it away. The council had no answer to that. They sat in their ancient chamber, surrounded by their ancient wisdom, and thought about the young species that had outsmarted them all, somewhere out there. Past the edge of the galaxy, past the vast darkness between stars, humanity was building something new, and the council would never be able to stop them. The shuttle broke through the clouds, and Junho saw the new world for the first time with his own eyes. Green forests covered the hills below. A river sparkled in the morning light, winding between mountains that touched the sky. Strange birds flew in patterns he had never seen before, their wings catching colors that did not exist on Earth. "It is beautiful," whispered a voice behind him. He turned to see one of the children from the orphanage, a young boy named Dongwook, pressing his face against the window. The boy's eyes were wide with wonder. "It is our home now," Junho said. "This whole planet. All of it." The shuttle landed in a wide valley near the river. Junho opened the doors and stepped onto the ground. The grass was soft under his boots. The air smelled clean and sweet, with hints of flowers he could not name. A gentle wind blew across the valley, carrying the sounds of the alien wilderness. He knelt down and touched the soil. Real soil, not metal floors or recycled asteroid rock. This was Earth. Not Earth, but Earth. Ground that would grow food. Ground that would hold the foundations of cities. Ground that belonged to humanity now. One by one, the children stepped out of the shuttle. They looked around with faces full of amazement. Some laughed. Some cried. One little girl picked up a handful of soil and held it like treasure. Junho stood straight and planted a flag in the ground. It was not the flag of any nation. It was a new flag designed for this moment. A simple blue circle on a white background, representing a new world waiting to be filled with life. "We are home," he said. His voice was thick with emotion. "We are finally home." Across the planet, other shuttles were landing. 2,000 ARC ships hung in orbit, emptying their cargo of dreamers onto the new world. Medical teams helped the elderly take their first steps on alien ground. Engineers surveyed locations for the first settlements. Scientists tested the air and water and soil, confirming what the probes had promised years ago. Everything was perfect. The planet was waiting for them as if it had always known they were coming. Captain Unipark walked through the valley where the first city would be built. Already, temporary shelters were rising from the grass. Machines were clearing ground for roads. Power generators hummed quietly, providing energy for the thousands of people working to build a new civilization. Nari Chen appeared beside her, holding a tablet covered in construction plans. "The first permanent structures will be ready in 6 months," Nari said. "Homes, schools, hospitals. We have enough materials from the ships to build a city of 10 million. And after that," Nari smiled. "After that, we build more. We have plans for 100 cities on this planet alone. And there are 6 other worlds in this system. We can spread across all of them within a generation." Yuna looked up at the alien sun. It was slightly more orange than Earth's sun, casting the world in a warm golden light. She thought about how her grandmother had dreamed of this moment. Drawing secret plans in hidden rooms, never knowing if the dream would come true. "We made it," she said softly. "We actually made it." Dr. Heenbeek set up his new laboratory in a converted cargo bay. There was still so much work to do. The jump technology that had brought them here was just the beginning. He had ideas for new power sources, new communication systems, new ways to shape the universe. But first he needed to rest. For the first time in decades, he had time. He walked outside and sat on a rock overlooking the valley. The construction noise faded as the sun began to set. Colors he had never seen before painted the sky purples and greens, mixing with orange and pink. A young woman sat down beside him. She was one of his students, a brilliant physicist named Soyen, who had worked on the jump engines for years. "Do you think the council will follow us?" she asked. Heon shook his head. Their ships are too slow. By the time they could reach us, we will be spread across the galaxy. They will find our cities and our children and our grandchildren. They will see what we built. And they will understand that they never really knew us at all. What do you think we will become? In 1,000 years? In 1,000,000? Hyun laughed softly. I have no idea. And that is the wonderful thing. No one will tell us what we can become. No one will set limits. We will find our own path, make our own mistakes, and create our own future. He gestured at the alien sky, now filling with strange stars. Out there somewhere there are other species. New friends to meet, new mysteries to explore. We are not running away from the universe. We are running toward it. Hannah Kwan stood in the archives building, just a temporary structure, but it would grow into something magnificent. She held a pen in her hand and a blank book on her desk. This would be the first entry in the new human archives, the official history of their civilization in Andromeda. She thought for a long moment, then began to write. Year 1 of the new era. Today humanity began again. We did not run from the Council. We outgrew them. They tried to keep us small, and we became something larger than they could imagine. They tried to cage us, and we flew to another galaxy. This is not the end of our story. This is the beginning. She paused, looking out the window at the settlement growing in the valley. We carry Earth with us. Not the planet, but everything it meant. Our art and music, our languages and stories, our love and hope and stubborn refusal to accept the impossible. These things are our true home. They will follow us wherever we go. She signed her name at the bottom of the page and closed the book. 500 years passed. Humanity spread across Andromeda like seeds carried by the wind. They settled on hundreds of worlds. They built cities that touched the clouds and stations that orbited distant suns. They met new species, not ancient rulers like the Council, but young civilizations like themselves, eager to explore and grow together. The old Ark ships became museums and monuments, reminders of the great journey that had started everything. Children took field trips to see the stasis pods, where their ancestors had slept during the crossing between galaxies. On a planet called New Sol, in a great library filled with the accumulated knowledge of human civilization, a young historian named Min Seo sat at her desk reviewing ancient records. She was writing her thesis about the Exodus, trying to understand how 12 billion people had kept a secret for over 100 years. Her computer chimed with an alert. An unusual signal had been detected at the edge of human space. She opened the file and read the report. A probe had been found, drifting in the darkness between galaxies. It carried a transmission from the Milky Way. Her fingers trembled as she decoded the message. This is the Galactic Council. It has been 2,000 years since your departure. We have spent this time reflecting on our actions. We were wrong to cage your species. We were wrong to fear your potential. We were wrong to think that control could substitute for trust. We have changed. Many of our old leaders are gone. The species who once ruled the galaxy have learned humility. We have watched your civilization grow from across the void, detected your signals spreading through Andromeda, and we are amazed by what you have become. We do not seek to control you. We do not seek to limit you. We only seek to apologize and to ask if there might be friendship between our civilizations. If you are willing to respond, we will listen. If not, we understand. We took 300 years of your freedom. We cannot ask you to forget that. With respect and regret, the new Galactic Council. Minseo sat back in her chair. 2,000 years. The Council had been watching them for 2,000 years, waiting to apologize. She smiled and saved the message to the historical archives. Then she opened a new file and wrote a brief note to the communications department. Received message from Milky Way civilization. Historical interest only. Recommend filing in archives and continuing normal operations. We have more important things to focus on. She closed the file and returned to her work. Outside her window, the sun was setting over New Sol. Flying cars crossed the purple sky. Children played in parks that stretched for kilometers. Musicians performed in open squares, their music drifting through the evening air. Humanity had built a civilization spanning hundreds of worlds, made friends with a dozen new species, and created wonders that the old council could never have imagined. They had wars and peace, tragedies and triumphs, failures and successes. They were not perfect. They had never claimed to be, but they were free, and that made all the difference. Far away, in the Great Library's oldest section, a plaque hung on the wall. It held the words that Admiral Taiho Shin had spoken on the night of the Exodus, preserved for all future generations to remember. The cage was never strong enough. It was only the universe that was too small. Humanity had proven him right. They had outgrown not just the cage, but the galaxy itself. And somewhere out there, in the endless darkness between the stars, new frontiers waited for them. They would never stop exploring. They would never stop dreaming. That was what it meant to be human.